Bum 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 bum. Bum 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 bum.
Hey guys, welcome to another episode of VeriTalks. I'm Scott and I'm here with James, Jordan, Jeff, and Andrew. And we can't wait for you to hear this next interview. It's with one of our just all-time favorite people, our friend, producer, sometimes even our pianist, the one and only Jay Rouse.
Yes.
Jay Rouse.
There are fewer people in the world we as a group love more than Jay Rouse. He has been a friend to each of us, not just us as a group, but to each of us and our families since the first time that we met him, back when we were doing like one-off shows with Sandy Patty. And to now have done a full album with him and for him to be out on the road with us from time to time, that really is a dream come true. So we're honored that he would take the time to do this with us.
Yeah, we love Jay Rouse and his whole family. We love his wife, Amy, who's an incredible singer as well. But we are excited for you to see this next interview on VeriTalks with our good friend, Jay Rouse. Enjoy.
When did you start playing the piano? And then probably when was it that you were like, okay, I'm really super good at this. I should probably like do this.
I'm still waiting on that day. That hasn't happened yet.
Okay, yeah.
But if it happens, I'll let you know.
Okay.
So I was very little when I started playing. I would just kind of play what I heard on the radio or play what my mom says I was playing, like jingles off the television when I was really young. Just for me, it's interesting, but the piano always made sense to me. It was kind of a language that I could just figure out. And to be honest, one of the reasons I played by ear so much when I was really young, that when I did start lessons when I turned 7, it was a little bit challenging because I really wasn't reading music for a long time. I was just, the songs were simple enough that I could have my mom play it or my piano teacher, and if she would play it and I could remember it enough, then I could typically, and in many ways I didn't even know I was doing that.
Mm-hmm.
I was just kind of just playing. So for the time I was 7, I started seriously taking lessons. And then by the time I was, 9 or 10, I was playing at church. And by the time I was 12 or 13, I was the pianist at our little tiny South Lake Wales Church of God.
Whoa.
So it's always just been, and for me too, in high school, it started to anchor me as being something I could do that would make me reasonably cool. Kind of, I got in garage bands and played for the show choir that we had at school. Stuff like that, and and I started working with rhythm sections and just doing all the stuff that I still do today, but didn't have any idea that I would be. But as I got into harder music, it became evident that I understood. This is early. I understood the right hand really well, but my left hand I was kind of just fudging around most of the time. And then I started playing trombone when I was in like 6th grade.
Sweet.
And so that forced me to learn to read the bass clef finally. But yeah, no, I've always relied on my ear a lot. Still, even today, I do a lot. So
I'm still in the I can use my right hand and my left hand doesn't really know what it's doing world.
Yeah, right.
I'm pretty sure that's just where I'm going to live. I feel good about it.
So when, Jay, do you think was like your first big opportunity in music where you were like, whoa, I could do something professionally with this?
Yeah, that's interesting. Well, so I grew up in the Church of God, Anderson, Indiana Church of God, and so I was in a lot of circles where I was able to play for different things. Went to Gaither concerts as a kid, knew Sandy and her parents. They were kind of celebrities in our Church of God world. So my dreams were to come to Anderson, Indiana, to go to Anderson University in hopes of maybe, getting to play for Bill and Gloria and getting to work with Sandy on some level. And so I guess that's definitely part of it. But the other part that's part of it was when I was, by the time I was 14 or 15, I was playing for so many different things, both through my high school and through my church. That's really the time when I started to think, God, if there's any chance I can do this for a living, if there's any chance I can do this, professionally, I would love to do it. So one of the reasons I came to Anderson University, I was kind of a big fish in a small sea in Florida, came to Indiana just to see, am I any good? Can I do this or not? And it was a huge awakening because there was lots of really talented kids. but once I started at AU, I put together as we all do, I put together a singing group. We started traveling on the road, kind of weekend ministry stuff. And I started playing at one of the bigger churches here in town. And just like anyway, kids ask me, how do you get better? And that's how you get better. Keep putting yourself in situations where there are people more talented than you. And I just kept doing that. Got a couple chances to play in studios and things like that. And then through one thing or another, kind of met Sandy. And that was really my first big professional, other than playing studio work. She lived here in town in Anderson at the time too. She would sing something local, or I remember we went to a birthday party with her once. We flew a private jet to some place in Chicago and did this kind of star-studded. So I would do stuff like that just because her regular pianist, Dick Tunney at the time, couldn't do it. But when she finally called me, this was like the summer of '89, believe it or not, prior to all of you children, and asked me if I'd come on the road. That was the end of Make His Praise Glorious tour. So that's when I kind of started working professionally, I guess you would say.
So Veritas and most of us individually met you on Sandy's Forever Grateful tour. And we spent, was it an entire year? Was it longer than that? It was a year.
It was at least a year. I think it was like 14 months kind of total if you go all the way through the cruise.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so that's where we met you, was on the road. And so I know you've spent a lot of time touring and on the road. And so talk to us about some of your just different road experiences. Who have you toured with? What was that like?
Yeah, so most of my touring has been done with Sandy through the years. I started with her in '89 and worked for her about 10 or 12 years. My wife, Amy, came on the road with us about a year after I started. She was actually on the road with Bill and Gloria at the time. She was a backup. This is back when Bill had backup singers. So she was with Bill and I was with Sandy, and we were kind of both working. We don't even really count the first couple of years of our marriage because we were rarely in the same space. So, but they were really fun days, and we really, really glad to do it. The only other touring I did, I would occasionally sub out for Bill when his piano player at the time couldn't do it, just because of I knew Sandy. But that's the most of my touring has been with Sandy. After about 10 years, I took time off and we had our kids. Mm-hmm. When my son was born, he kind of came on the road with us. But when he turned 5, Amy got pregnant again for our daughter, London, and we just felt like we really needed to take that time off. And I mean, other than that, I've done other things like star-studded things like the Stars of the Lawrence Welk Show. I did that for about, that was straight out of college. It was kind of funny.
Awesome.
Yeah, it was supposed to be this one little piece of a tour that came through the Midwest, and then they kind of liked us. It was actually Sandy's brother who played bass. He was kind of the guy that got us all into this. Then I played piano, and then we had a couple other players, and one of their the husbands of one of the artists played drums. So it was crazy. We did 4:00 concerts, after the buffet, and it's totally that weird world. But it was a really good experience for me to learn. They just hand you a book. Here's my music, and literally those guys just sing. They just go for it. They don't care what you're playing or what you're doing. So it was fun. Those were good days. But again, touring has never been something I desired to do. I liked it. I was okay with it. But through all of the Sandy days, my publishing career started, and that allowed me to be home. Again, I didn't really plan on doing a ton of writing and arranging, orchestrating, all that stuff, but it just started making sense. And, I had some success there. So that's another reason why I didn't do as much touring. So,
do you have any wow moments that you've experienced on the road where you're like, wow, this is the coolest thing I think I'm ever going to do?
Yeah. Well, one of our favorite with Sandy, we spent 3 weeks in Japan and Hong Kong. This was 25 years ago or so. That was one of my favorite trips. I'd spent some time out of the country, but I'd never done anything like that. And we did amazing things over there. We sang, in these huge places, and actually we sang at the DMZ, the kind of the military base there. So that's always been a highlight. I mean, because of Sandy, I've played for, presidents and been in those kind of situations where we were, go through the metal detector, all of that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But to me, it's interesting. I mean, there've been lots of those kinds of things, and I'm really grateful for those kind of things. But the coolest part, honestly, for me has always been just, especially in those early days working for Sandy, we were 3 weeks on, 2 weeks off. So we just, every night, we were singing in arenas. There was, 15,000 people. It was just night after night. It was just, and we didn't even really know any different back then. It was just the days, and that's what we did. And, the guys would set everything up every night. We carried a piano with us. I had the same piano every night. The stage full setup was our, just a really, when you look back on it now, it's kind of like, did we really do that? It feels like a dream. I'm not sure we did. Those are my most special, and I'm really glad I got to do all those things. So that's kind of how I feel about all the special memories.
Yeah, that sounds like a Veritas
cool.
a little bit, just a little.
Yeah,
bit.
Very similar.
Mm-hmm. You touched on it a little bit with the tour overseas, but do you have a specific like venue that is the most like the top place you've ever played in?
Well, I mean, you guys were with us one of the times. Carnegie really continues to be that a little bit for me, just because we all kind of wanted to work there and do that. That was a really special venue. So I was really honored to get to do that. Another thing we used to always do is in the old days, there was a whole fair circuit that we would do every summer, like Ohio State Fair and Indiana State Fair. And those used to be a ton of fun because it's all outside. And there's literally more like 20,000 people, these kind of crazy numbers. And it was kind of like more of a loose concert. Sandy would just do stuff, and it was just, those are some of my most special memories. And we were all, much like you guys too, in my time with you guys occasionally, we were all such good friends. It was just a really fun time in life. And so I remember those with a lot of fondness. But yeah, that's probably, Carnegie, when I finally was able to get there, was pretty cool. For a little period there, I guess Sandy did more after I was off the road with her, but we always used to do symphony concerts in these huge symphony halls. There's a great hall, I can't remember what it's called, in Dallas. Some of those were brilliant. And Sandy and a kind of incredible symphony orchestra there's nothing like it. We recorded live one of her albums in London too with the symphony. We did over 2 days. We did a whole live recording, which was another. It's a studio, but it was an incredible experience, and I'm so grateful I got to do it.
That's amazing.
Sure.
Yeah. What was the first thing I did for you guys? Wasn't it a cappella? Was it the
What'd you say?
Faithfulness.
Was it Faithfulness, or I did arrange for the Doxology? I was thinking
Doxology.
Oh yeah.
Because I came across an old video of that, just you guys in a practice room, like when we were rehearsing it. So I think that was the first thing I did for you.
Yep, Doxology.
You're right. And that thing was very off the cuff and just right after a show on the tour. And
you ever sing it?
Huh?
You guys still sing it? Ever?
Sure. If we need something short to break out, that's always a go-to.
Always.
Like if we need just a quick little thing. But that thing got like a couple 100,000 views, I think. Yeah, which is pretty cool. So you must have done something right.
Well, I always say this: you can put any notes you want on the piece of paper if you don't have people who can sing them. That's honestly makes the difference when you guys can sing it. So it's amazing.
The Hope Survives thing that we did together was, for me, my favorite record to work on, and I really enjoyed working on it with you because you, sir, made me feel safe. Safer than any producer ever. It's just with Jay, I'm like, I know that everything's going to be okay no matter what. And I think it gave us all some freedom in the studio to just feel more comfortable with our ideas and vocal arranging and some, I don't know. So I just enjoyed that.
I was going to say, making records and being a producer is a thing you kind of have to learn through the years, because your real goal is to hire or whatever, work for the best people you possibly can work for, and definitely bring your ideas, but also then create a space where they can do their best work. And honestly, if I somehow was dictating everything you guys sang in some way or another, then it would kind of be a record I made. And for me to say to you guys, especially with you, Jordan, you were definitely this way. The first take we did was awesome always. The second one was still good. By the fourth or fifth time, you would just decide, I'm going to just do something. And then it would be like, oh my gosh, okay, there it is. That's amazing. And I feel like you have to kind of learn that from every singer. Because Andrew, you're almost the opposite. You sang it. It's great. you sing it again, it's still great. It just kind of just stays. You kind of have it in your head before you even start. And I think for Jordan, you kind of have to discover it as you go and let your voice figure out what you want to do and how you want to sing a phrase.
Yeah.
And then just it kind of develops.
Yeah.
And so that was the most fun I thought about that project. And remember, what was it? I think it was Amazing Grace. We recorded it all one way and then ditched every bit of it and redid it like that very last day. We were like, I don't really like this. Let's redo it.
Yep.
So that's how you make great music, I think.
Mm-hmm. And we worked on that album like almost the whole Forever Grateful tour. We would meet.
That is true.
That was one thing that I loved, was just the creative process. Was just a blast working on it for that long.
It really was. And I think too, again, if you have really talented people, then it's just a matter of sifting through great ideas, which is what we got to do. Remember how many afternoons on tour we would get in some room and all sing through stuff and practice? And that's true. That's a good point, Andrew, because I think we came, even if we didn't end up doing exactly what we thought we were going to do, we came with some preparation. It wasn't like you guys were kind of hearing the songs for the first time. That made a big difference. Yeah,
well, and then you had to sift through all of our complete nonsense. So Jay, we wanted to kind of have some and also maybe a little ooh.
Oh, I did some of those late nights. We're using words that don't really have any musical connotations.
Oh,
like, what are we wanting? I don't.
It's a little more zhuzh right there.
Zhuzh,
exactly.
A little sizzle.
Exactly. Things sizzle for me, and then I'll tell you whether it works. So yeah, no, those are fun memories.
The acapella stuff, we would do that. You made it so easy with that, and your acapella stuff is just ridiculous in general. Like, you've given us so much great music to sing.
Because the thing is too, you guys, I always write notes on that paper that I think there's no way they're not gonna, and then I get the recording back and it's like, oh, they did sing it. Okay, awesome, that's amazing. So
we like a challenge. Honestly, I feel like the Simply records probably ended up being our favorite records to date, and we did them in like 4 days in a little home studio.
It is true. Some of that acapella stuff has just been so enjoyable for me to create and then to hear back. And I love Hope Survives too. It's a great project.
So you wrote a song on, with James.
Yeah.
On the album.
That was cool. I wish I should actually. So here's that process. You guys came and said you wanted that through composed, and you gave me the scripture that you wanted. James kind of directed me as far as some of the lyrics and stuff that he wanted. And if I had time, I still have that recording in my phone, because what I did is I sat down with the scripture and just started singing. And no, I'm not a great singer or anything, but like it just came into being. It just kind of was what it was.
If God is for us, who can be against us? He who did not bear his own son, but gave for us. How will he not also alone graciously give us any charge against us has who then is the one who condemns? No one, no one.
That that process of writing songs doesn't always happen, but it's when you kind of feel like God wanted that song to be here, and I was, in the right place at the right time, I guess, or whatever. Because that's still one of the most powerful things on that project, I think. Incredible.
Yes,
I
it's
think one of
very
my-
very awesome.
Yeah. And I don't know if you remember this. I'm sure you do. Probably one of my favorite moments of VeriTalks performing with you at the piano was on the first cruise we did. And was it Pastor Marty that was speaking?
Yeah,
He spoke, and then we got up there and we sang with our sheet music and everything. We sang Conquerors for the first time, like in front of people.
Yep.
And I don't know, that was just like a super special moment for me. I just was like, this is so awesome.
It really was. It's that kind of moment when you realize this song's going to have a life beyond anything that we've done, and since then it's in choral print, and I've actually just did it about 3 weeks ago with a choir out in Arkansas, just about 30 people
Nice.
who literally kind of sing their heads off to pull it off. But it was the sweetest thing, and it just has a life beyond. It's really lived in several worlds, because it lives in the evangelical kind of choir world, but also because of the style of it a little bit, it can be in the more liturgical kind of spaces too. So it's one of those songs God wanted here. So
First rapid fire question is, what is your favorite meal?
my favorite meal, lasagna, no question. Maggiano's, Maggiano's lasagna.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
That'll kill you.
It's
Okay,
great.
Go ahead.
Good
It's great.
answer.
Okay, Steinway or Yamaha or third party?
Okay, it's going to take a longer answer. I love a good Steinway. It's been around for a while and been taken care of. Then it's a great answer. But I'll take a Yamaha. I have one in my office. I have one at my house. It's the piano. The most consistent. I love the sound.
Okay, here's the third question. What is the last TV show that you binged watched, or you just something you couldn't stop watching?
Okay, two things. My family's been watching a show called All American, which is on Netflix. You may or may not know about it. It's kind of one of those Friday Night Lights kind of football. And the other thing I just watched, The Crown. Have you guys watched The Crown?
Oh, yeah.
The series, The Crown. Okay, I'm late getting to that new season.
Breeze over here. Little breeze. I'm okay.
Last night is coming back. I'm kind of late getting to the third season of The Crown, I think, whatever. But I just finished watching that.
Okay, yeah.
I'm kind of
I haven't seen the third
Yeah.
season yet. I haven't seen the
I
third.
didn't even know the third season was out. I have seen the first two seasons though.
Okay, it's kind of cool though, because they're all new actors in
Yes.
this season, because it's like 10 years later or something. So it takes you a minute to get used to it. In fact, when I first started watching it, it was kind of bugging me, but once you get used to it, it's awesome. So
Cool. I love
you
that
should
show.
watch it.
So, all right, Jay, what is your favorite Disney park, ride, and restaurant?
This is very, very easy. I grew up in Florida. I am a Floridian, as are both of you. Wait,
Yes, we
I know-
are. We're both South Floridians.
I remember when I first started hanging out with you guys, I thought being a Floridian was such a unique thing, which it kind of is to actually be born and raised there. But then both of you were too. So Floridians, fist pump or whatever. Okay.
That's right.
So I grew up about 35 minutes south of Orlando. So Florida, Disney World, no. Magic Kingdom. Magic Kingdom is my favorite park. No question. I was there kind of the first week that it was even open. Someone
Nice.
else says, I don't really remember. Okay. So Disney World favorite ride is probably Pirates of the Caribbean,
Right.
although Haunted Mansion gets honorable mention,
Oh, yeah.
as does Carousel Progress. Is great, big, beautiful tomorrow. Do you guys know that?
So,
Oh, yeah.
Great.
so we were at Disney World. Sorry, it's funny. We were at Disney World last month, and I got my 3-year-old, my 4-year-old, and we got on the Carousel of Progress, and I went. And they were like, "This is a 30-minute ride. If you can't, it's not really right." I was like, "We're gonna slip out." So I sat down and then we left. I was like, "No, my kids would have absolutely just ruined that whole experience for everyone."
I get it. I get it.
But I did miss
Oh,
out.
you did miss out. Okay. And restaurant is Ohana at Polynesian, no question. My favorite hotel, my favorite restaurant. The bread pudding will change your life, I promise.
What's a concert you've attended that you'll never forget?
Yeah. So real early in my life, do you guys know the name Doug Oldham? Does that mean anything to you? Okay. So this will have to go back to your older viewers. So he used to sing with kind of with the Gaithers. He's a Church of God guy. But I was probably 7 or 8 years old. He was this great communicator. I mean, this is a whole bygone day as far as, kind of stylistically. But it was kind of one of the first times I ever heard someone sing that I really felt what he was singing and what he was doing. And it just had this huge impact on me. And then for me, then it bends into my high school years when, Sandy, Larnell, Steve, I went to all their concerts. Truth was huge in Florida when I was in high school. So they had a huge influence on me as far as who I wanted to be. And then on the flip side, James Taylor, have you ever been to a James Taylor concert? James Taylor, we have one specific where Amy and I were early dating. And so he's kind of plays a special part in our life. And his shows are incredible. He's just so laid back, amazing singer, amazing musician. So
What is your most embarrassing moment on stage?
see, I'm terrible with this question because I don't have embarrassing moments like that. I mean, the worst one was, do you guys know, it's kind of embarrassing, but it's also just bad. So I was playing for Bill Gaither Trio. Well, this is actually for the vocal band. And lead me, Lord, I'll follow anywhere you open up the door. So I'm playing that. We're doing it live. We had flown in just that day. We were in Seattle, and anytime you fly all the way from here all the way to there, you're just so jet lagged. It's like 9 o'clock at night, but it's really midnight or something. And so I'm playing along Michael English and Mark Lowry. It's back in those days, and I couldn't remember if we'd already sung his first chorus, and then I couldn't just get in that place in your head. You're like, have we sung the chorus? I'm not sure. So I just did a whole big build up, and we ended up trying to sing the chorus like a third time, and Bill gave me a very, very intense look, like, what the heck are you doing? I was like,
the Holy Spirit, man. Spirit was leading me, Bill.
Yeah, I think he felt like the rest of us too. He was like, let's be done with this. So I always remember I was kind of embarrassed and kind of like felt like, oh my gosh, what am I doing? I'm never going to get to play for him again.
That's funny. Well, I toured with the Continental Singers when I was younger, and my absolute most embarrassing moment on stage was with them. I had a solo in the very opening song, and it was the Avalon song, Do You Want to Fly? I think that's the name of it. I can't remember. Like, do you want to fly? There's a higher high. And I walked off the front of the stage.
Did you actually fall into the people or what?
No, there was just a drop off. Like if you'd imagine like an orchestra pit, it was big, and like it was dark, and I just was like, "Do you want to fly?" And I just fell off the stage.
Did you? What'd you do? Did you keep singing?
It was. I wish it was on video, one of those things. But like I fell, and then I just like crawled back up onto the stage, and I just kept singing. And it's even funnier because we were like dancing too. So I was like,
oh man,
it was bad. It was pretty rough. What's something that you are deeply grateful for?
It's kind of an interesting question right now because we're just in such a difficult time, frankly. I mean, this is really been a challenging time for so many people. I am deeply grateful for the foundation I have in my life in Christ. And what that means to me at a time like right now is that when I have more questions than answers, which I definitely do, there are so many more things like looking forward, will our future look anything like our past? That my faith is not really grounded in that and what I might accomplish or could accomplish, but it's held in Christ. And so there's a scripture for the last probably 3 or 4 months that I've just been pondering and thinking about. It's Micah 6:8. What does the Lord require of us? To act justly, love mercy, and walk humbly with the Lord. And for me, that's something I've been chasing and kind of looking for, trying to figure out what that really means to act justly. I'm a big part of a recovery community, been a part of that for a lot of years. And in that circle, we say, do the next right thing. So that's kind of what how I interpret acting justly, is regardless of, I can't worry about 2 weeks or 10 months or 20 years. I just have to do the next right thing. Love, mercy. I heard a teaching just the other day. It was just a couple days ago on Brene Brown. She has a new podcast that's excellent. The guy was talking, he said, so from the choice of mercy versus judgment, judgment always demands discipline. And there's this kind of feeling of, like, anytime I choose judgment, it's discipline. I mean, judgment demands punishment. So in one way or another, when I choose to judge, I'm either punishing myself or I'm somehow punishing them in some way. So the concept of choosing mercy over judgment is one that I'm just trying to do as much as I can and finally walk humbly with the Lord. I think anybody who does what we do, there's a perception as to what we do. And we can walk into any situation we want and live in that perception if we want. We can just let them think whatever they want to think about us because they've seen our name on a piece of paper or on a back of a CD or in some video or something. Or we can choose to humbly present ourselves both to those who are around us and then, of course, to Christ. Because I think we all know, that not for God's goodness in our life, we would not be doing any of the stuff that we're doing. And if you're like me, I don't know how I ended up here. God has been so kind to allow me opportunities that I've had, that this, when I really think about it, even on my best day, when I think I'm, doing the coolest thing, it's still as a result of God's goodness in my life. So I'm most thankful for my identity and my history and my lineage in Christ.
Another question. We have 2 left.
Okay.
So what is your next big idea or creative venture?
Yeah.
I know it's a little tricky to answer that question right now because everybody's on hold, but
it is really tricky. Yeah. Much like you guys, about a month ago, everything on my calendar for the next 2.5 months just went away. A good bit of it, hopefully, is just moving forward. I have just finished 2 Christmas musicals that I've been involved in, so I'm really excited about those that will be coming out next year. I just finished a Christmas piano book. I have a non-seasonal book coming, and I'm also contributing to another book with various arrangers. I'm hoping Crossings Community Church, I do a lot of work with them. We're planning to do another project for Prism that was supposed to start recording in April. We'll kind of see when that happens. So I've got all those kind of things on the horizon, and I'm really grateful for them. Stuff I'll do with you guys, Sandy, and so I've got all that stuff. But also, it's like kind of like what I was just saying. The big ideas that I'm thinking about mostly in my life right now are how I want to live and who I want to be. It's just that thing that's always running just under the surface of all this creativity that we have. And again, I'm very grateful for all the opportunities I get. But as far as who I want to be and how I want to live as a husband and a friend and a father and a producer and a writer, all that kind of stuff, that's the stuff I chase. So.
Yeah. All right. Last question. And this one's pretty simple. Where can people find your music, your arrangements, and just more about anything you're working on?
Right. So I've got jrouse.com. You can always go there and kind of find out about me. All my information's there, and most of my most recent releases are there. But also, if you Google my name and don't go there, you'll end up, as far as all my writing and arranging, most of it's with Lorenz or with Praise Gathering Music Group. Those are the 2 places where you can find most of my stuff. So
that's great. Well, Jay, thanks. Really appreciate it.
Thank you, guys. I need to say this too before we end. I've loved working with you guys, and I say this to people all the time because they say, what's it like working with VeriTalks, all that kind of stuff. 5 of the most incredible voices I've ever worked with. That is the honest truth. But then also 5 of the best men that I've known, and I am so grateful to have the opportunity to work with you guys and hopefully speak into your lives a little bit. And I, just look forward to all that's ahead for you guys, for us together, for all of us. So it's an honor to be here today and always to work with you guys.
Man, I just love that guy. And I think one of the things I love the most is how, whether he's on stage, off the stage, or even on a Zoom call, doing an interview, you get the exact same person every day. He's just so genuine, so kind. I loved listening to that interview.
Yeah, I mean, to say that Jay Rouse has been a huge supporter of what we've done, you know, as a group musically is just a gross understatement. He has been a giant supporter of us musically, as a friend, a mentor even. And I know just in talking to him, probably the biggest thing I took away was just he has done some incredible things. He is a brilliant musician. And I think one of the reasons he's been so successful is because of who he is as a person.
Yeah,
I think you
that's
can be
true.
super talented and you can have everything it takes. But if you're just a huge jerk, people don't really want to work with you. And Jay is the farthest thing from that. He's an amazing person. And I know for me personally, one of the coolest creative experiences I've had was the year that we were on the road with him and with Sandy and working on the Hope Survives album.
Yeah.
We talked about that a little bit and just what that experience was like. And it's just one of those memories that I'll never forget, was sitting on the bus or in a random choir room figuring out arrangements with him and seeing him work in person. It was amazing.
Yeah, we had a lot of those random choir meetings, or choir room meetings, I say, throughout the country. And we just loved hanging out with Jay and learning from him. And so we just wanted to say, if you guys like these interviews, we want to encourage you to please subscribe below. And also go to our Patreon page, because we have a lot of exclusive material, a lot of bonus material, and extra things that you're going to really, really love that you can only get there. So like always, you can find us on all of our social media at VeriTalks 5. And so we want to encourage you to check us out there. Hope you guys have a great day. Thanks for joining us on this episode of VeriTalks. And here's to your next big idea.
Ta-da!